I'd like to welcome you to the launch of iTnews' latest piece of research on cloud computing, which is called Which Clouds Play Nice. I'd like to express my gratitude to the folks at VMware for letting us launch this paper at vForum. It's been a great event so far, and we're very proud to be a part of it. So we were seeking answers about which clouds play nice. If you're going to have a suite of SaaS providers serving your business, which of them would be developed on similar architecture such that you could integrate between them relatively easily? The result is a report that promises to save CIOs and IT managers and other business owners hopefully many hours of research and maybe open their eyes to some of the things that they should be looking for when they're looking at the software as a service landscape.
I'm hoping to tell you today how it is that you can avoid needing me and avoid giving me your money. Because although I would like all your money, I suspect that you would like it more. And the person who ends up having to figure out that integration is you, the person who purchases the software. And the really dangerous thing about that is that you really need to know not just intimate technical details about the software, how it's implemented internally, how you can talk to it, and so on and so forth. You also need to know how it works operationally, how it fits into your business, and how to really make that work with your workflow. The most successful ones and the best ones at the moment are approaching this software as a service, as a product kind of vision, where the companies are working together to build out in advance structures that people can use, where one application integrates with another, and you can just use that out of the box without having to do anything fancy or impressive. All the cloud providers really need to be talking about industry standards, need to be talking about standards, not for file formats, although we could use that as well, but standards for integration, standards for ways to talk to each other, so that we don't have to have this complicated dance of what integrates with what. And if Brett's passed around that matrix, if not, he'll do it later. We have a diagram of what is what, and it is large and complicated. We can save that with standards. We can end up having a simpler picture that looks simply like, if the thing speaks the standard and other things speak the standard, the integration can happen, and it's as simple as that.
Can I get my data in and out? Your data is obviously everything. Your SaaS provider must provide you with great, easy to use tools to get your data in and out. And by extracting data, we're not just talking about migrating or churning to other services, we're also talking about backup and recovery, merging of data during merger and acquisition activity, all that kind of thing as well. Does it integrate natively with other systems? This is the dream scenario. Are there tools available to integrate seamlessly between two systems? Have those two SaaS vendors sat it together and figured out a way for it to work out of the box? So that you don't have to hire Sam, as he mentioned. And what third-party integrations are available? If the SaaS providers themselves haven't worked out this integration piece yet, are there some fairly simple third-party tools to make that happen? Can I write code to integrate with it? If all else fails, if those other two options haven't come off for us, can I at least hire a Sam and get some code written, or are we asking the impossible?
What I consider the best kind of integration, which is the native kind. The good thing about native integration is that it's been built by people who have actually made the product. An example being, say, when Google is integrated with Salesforce, they've done that by having a conversation. Their developers have talked to the other developers and said, okay, how are we going to integrate these products? And they've actually internally figured out the right and the best way to do that. And that also means that those integrations are likely to be better supported because you're not going to have to talk to someone who doesn't really know what's going on in those companies. It means that there's a chance that future features are going to get integrated, so you're not going to end up in a situation where, like, Salesforce adds chatter support or something, and then all of a sudden everything else breaks because no one told you that it was going to change. These guys are actually having ongoing conversations about this. There's still the question of single sign-on, which is the ability to have all your users essentially centrally managed in one place. And this might not seem like a huge deal because it's like, oh, well, people can just log in twice or whatever. But I'm talking about, what happens when you suddenly have 100 employees and you're trying to figure out how to, these guys are all changing logins, you've got people coming in, people being let go, you have, new services springing up, and you're trying to figure out, holy crap, where are all my users? Like, some of them are in this system and some of them are in that system, and then someone moves from one group to another and you've got to delete all of their permissions from one thing, and it's just, you really don't want that. It's really painful. Single sign-on, people treat it as optional, but it really shouldn't be for your sanity. It really shouldn't be. The two big standards in single sign-on are SAML and OpenID. Those are the ones that have traction. Anyone who's trying to sell you on a cool proprietary system for single sign-on, I don't think really understands why it exists. The point is to integrate between lots of things. So if you have your own standard that no one else uses, then you can only integrate with yourself. I thought that was obvious. So the next thing is middleware. So as I say, if you can't get a native integration, an integration created by one or both of the providers in question, the next step down is middleware. And it's not that this stuff is bad exactly, it's just that it's just complicated. You just have more things to deal with. Right? If this integration goes down, if all of a sudden my data from one area isn't appearing in another, okay, so you call up the first company, they say it's not our problem, our servers are working fine. You call up the other company, no, ours are working fine. You call up the integration middleware company and they're like, oh no, ours are working. If none of that works, writing code is the next option, hiring guys like me to take your money and turn your money into your stuff just working. The main standards in NIST are REST and SOAP. There's no particular way to tell which one of these is winning. It seems to be just sort of whoever is, by industry it varies, and even sometimes one company will support two and so on. But there is one answer that I'm pushing for, and I really hope this begins to gain traction, is talking about API coverage numbers. Basically, you can ask a question that looks like, what portion of your user functionality, what of the stuff that people can do in your application can I access with code? And if the answer is 100%, then you're sweet, and everything is great. And some companies actually do offer this. They build their entire platform on top of an API rather than building a platform and then an API. And that means that they can actually use everything, use it all themselves, and so you're guaranteed to be able to use it all because of course they are. So that's pretty neat. And one last thing, and this is a bit of a pet peeve of mine, is just about documentation. If you're on a website with bad documentation, like really, they've not bothered to put any effort into this, then that's a real danger signal in terms of their attitude towards developers and in terms of their attitude towards interoperability. Like the guys who get this right, they really care about this, and it's really important to them to have good documentation and to have people going, oh great, look at all these wonderful things I can build with the platform. And the guys who don't care about that, or the ones who sort of treat their interoperability as like a trade secret that they don't want people to get access to without paying for it or signing agreements.
We created some scorecards around things like adherence to web services and security standards, their API coverage, the cohesiveness of their documentation and other developer extras, use of formats, whether they offer single sign-on or federated authorization to manage identities across multiple clouds, and whether there were any native or third-party integrations available that can plug and play. And when you do look at the score sheets, you'll notice that even the best guys, the guys that performed really well across all of those questions, still had a lot of room for improvement. We're hoping to do this study again in future years to see whether indeed the SaaS landscape is getting more open.